The incident underscored the extreme danger of the censorship industrial complex. Without real oversight mechanisms, God, yes, more government oversight will fix this fucking problem. You fucking idiot. This is what's so infuriating, is that he gets it and then he's so close and yet so fucking far away. That's the point, my guy. It's not good organizations gone wild because they don't have enough checks and balances. It's evil people doing whatever they can, as close to under the radar as they can, to control speech online, to protect the power of the state and their corporate friends, all patting each other on the back so that they can maintain the oligarchy. Twitter files repeatedly show media acting as proxy for NGOs, with the Twitter bracing for headlines if they don't nix accounts. Here, the Financial Times gives Twitter until the end of the day to provide a steer on whether RFK Jr. and other vax offenders will be zapped. Yeah, I mean, like, we saw journalists doing this all the time. Like, you know, oh, you did you know that the Proud Boys have a Patreon account? I'm going to say that your site funds Nazis in 6 hours. And then, oh, what do you know? Patreon and MasterCard and different bank accounts get rid of everybody associated with Proud Boys and just shut down their banking, you know, in a state-run situation where we have a central banking monopoly. But that's not fascism. Why? Because fascism is right-wing. Cool. Define right-wing. Crickets. Or it becomes like traditional conservatism or some bullshit.
Yeah, it's a very vague definition.
Well, you say, so what? What shouldn't civil society organizations and reporters work together to boycott, or why, sorry, to boycott misinformation? Isn't that not just an exercise of free speech, but a particularly enlightened form of it? No, not when NGOs are state-funded institutions working in incestuous relationship with the state. It's fascism, my guy. Don't be afraid to say it. The merger of the corporate and the state. Like, come on. What did we do? Well, the state was having difficulty in this area, so we had to support them and come together from state-funded organizations to fill the gaps where we could operate in other areas more easily and accessibly than the state. There's a lot of things that if this one thing was different, he would have won. And it seems to be the pattern over and over and over. If this one or two things would have worked out, he would have won. It's like they had to simultaneously screw him across the board, one or two things at a time. Yeah.
I mean, to be fair, I think Trump was one of his own worst enemies in and of himself.
Yeah, I mean, like he kept around way too many sycophants. But it's hard to know. I mean, like, you know, when you're impeaching and threatening the arrest of people that you hire's son for perfectly legitimate and legal things, and saying we're going to target your son and we're going to put your son in jail unless you turn state's evidence against the president of the United States. Well, you know, what the fuck was he really supposed to do? Trump was never president. President is a fantasy. President doesn't really have power. President is a symbol. Okay? It's a fucking facade to make you believe that your vote fucking matters. And then they play the game. Oh, you want a 32% corporate tax rate? Oh, well, the Republicans want a 28% corporate tax rate. Ping pong, ping pong, ping pong.
30.
So long as you keep bombing the brown children, and so long as you keep extracting wealth from the poor and the middle class for the corporate oligarchy and for those that work in the state together, you can just ping pong that number back and forth. Your vote for president does not fucking matter because the president has no power. And this is also true of congresspeople and senators. All together as a collective, they have some level of power in changing the system. But your individual vote for one person isn't going to upend the system that is a cancerous, incestuous, vampiric system that is designed to only put the meanest and evilest of snakes at the top. That said, I still agree with voting. Sorry, Twitch alias. I still think you should vote for individuals that you believe will reduce the size and scope of the state. But I don't think it matters much.
I mean, yeah, hopefully they attempt to do what you put them in the office for. It doesn't ever seem to really go that way.
I mean, I still think you should take action. What level of power your action has is pretty limited, but the state has a gun against my head. Voting is a means of controlling who owns that gun. And if I can influence in even a small way that gun being held by someone that wants to reduce the size and scope of the state, then I will.
What's up, Stardust? You back?
Your individual vote doesn't matter. I mean, it's hard to argue that it does if they just rig elections. But even then, exit polling data can't be 15% off, right? Like there's a certain, they have to sell a lie. Even if they steal elections, they still have to sell the lie, and the lie has to be believable. And the less believable the lie is, the more allies we gain in people going, this is all bullshit, right? You know how I know you give them that authority? Because it was Republicans in 2018 that created CISA. This is you, Republicans. Hypocrisy, thy name is GOP voter. Some NGOs like the GEC-funded Global Disinformation Index or the DoD-funded NewsGuard not only seek content moderation, but apply subjective risk or reliability scores to media outlets, which can result in reduction in revenue. Do we want government in this role?
No.
Scott, do you think it's possibly ISPs could start to deny service to people they don't like they did to Parler, but an individual level? I mean, it's not just Parler. They also did it to, they didn't do, ISPs did do it to Parler, but like, you also got to think about the fact that cloud services companies were denying to the Daily Stormer, and then eventually, what was the thing Keffel's got? That person that belongs under the prison being beaten every day. Oh, should I not say that on Twitch? I don't have enough viewers for her to care. She's a monster that deserves to go to jail for the rest of her life. Kiwi Farms, thank you. Because they were doxing her and and things like that. They were doing some shitty stuff on Kiwi Farms. But I mean, without Kiwi Farms, we wouldn't know that she helped smuggle HRT to minors, against their parents' wishes and connected them with the right people, or, ran a pedophile Discord server where they were cracking eggs and had, sexual predators targeting children so that they could, trans them and isolate them from their parents. But, Destiny needs to go because he's a little too spicy against the trans community. Not the fucking literal person that facilitates child abuse and grooming. But, whatever. Twitch gets its priorities from dear people. So that wasn't going to go very far. Yeah, no, this is what I'm talking about. Like, just get to New Hampshire. Like, if you don't have kids, you don't have anybody that really depends on you, and you have marketable skills, just go to New Hampshire, my guy. What the fuck are you doing? As much as I love this reporting, it's always the same fucking story with these idiots. Government caused a problem. But you know what? It's because government worked with corporations and NGOs. You know what we need? More government to ensure that this is only done by government, because if it was only done by government, somehow government wouldn't be bad that time. Yeah, it's like that's some shit you heard as a child in US history class, and you're just clinging on to it. It's obviously it's a slightly more advanced version of that, but they're public servants. The government's not supposed to do this. It's like, what the fuck does supposed to mean? Oh, you mean when you were in your state indoctrination camp, they taught you that that's how it's supposed to work? Because it doesn't work that way, and it never has. Like, Thomas Jefferson was using John Adams was using state-based and fund companies funneling money through to spread propaganda that Thomas Jefferson was a homosexual. Like, it has been this way since the beginning, my guy. Like, it's never not been this way.
Look, I'm not, status that he was. I know he wasn't a homosexual.
We have DNA evidence to prove.
After only a couple of hours on Ancestry.com, I was able to trace my family line all the way back to none other than our third president, Thomas Jefferson.
Hamilton 68 was funded by the Alliance for Securing Democracy, which in turn was funded by the German Marshall Fund, which was in turn funded in part by the Department of the State. We do this shit all the time. That's like all of these fucking organizations. It's like when I looked into the Google, the new CEO of Google, what is his name? Neil Mohan, his wife. Yeah. Like his wife was previously works in government in California to force Californians to send their children to preschool, and also worked for activist NGOs. This sprawling new information control bureaucracy is an eerie sequel to the dangers Dwight Eisenhower warned about in his farewell address when he said the potential for the disastrous rise of misplaced power exists. This is where he talks about the prison military-industrial complex. And of course, it's always labeled the military-industrial complex. They always leave out the prison military-industrial complex.